First thing to do is make a copy of the project just in case anything goes wrong, and then we can always go back and check where we're supposed to be at. Second thing to do before we change anything is to bounce out, export out a rough mix, which will be our reference when we're mixing. Next, take off any effects, any processors, any EQs, any compressors, any reverbs, delays, choruses. All that stuff needs to go, especially anything that you've got on the stereo or master bus. If you're using any effects that you feel are really integral to the song or to the sound, then what you can do is leave the effects on, but also send us a copy of the track without the effect on it. So a dry copy as a safety, just in case we need to work with it. Next, take off any really long fades that you've got. If you've decided that the song ends on a fade out, take those off, because we always do fades at the very, very end. Some DAWs give you the option of normalising tracks as you're exporting. Make sure anything that says normalize is switched to off, and the same applies if you're bouncing in place. Always look for normalization and switch it to off. And now we're ready to go. Solo the track you're exporting. By soloing it, you guarantee that we've got no noise coming from other tracks or other plugins that you're using. Then select from 0 to the very end of the track. Doesn't matter where the track ends, but you must start at 0. And the reason for that is, if you export all your drums, which run the entire length of the song, and then at the very end, you've got this bit of backing vocal, if you just export that and send it to us, we've got no idea where it's supposed to go. If, on the other hand, you export the entire thing from 0, and it'll look like this, then the piece of audio is locked in place. So now we have our range. We go to export. So we're exporting as a wave. If you're using a Mac, this is Windows computer, if you're using a Mac, you'll be exporting either as WAV or WAV, just W-A-V, or AIFF, which is an AIFF file. So either WAV, WAV, or AIFF are fine. None of these other things are acceptable. We're bouncing out the master bus. This is as opposed to individual tracks or groups. So we bounce out the master bus as a mono export, even if it's part of a stereo track. So if you've got anything that has a left and right output, like a keyboard, or you're stereo micing a piano, or like we are drum overheads here, export each microphone as its own mono track. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm exporting the left channel, the left microphone, as its own mono track, and then I'll do the same. I'll export the right microphone as its own mono track. And the reason for that, when you're sending it off to somebody to mix, it's just much easier for us to work with it if that's how you export it. Sample rate is the same as the session rate, and the bit depth is also the same as the session rate. And by session rate, I mean the bit depth and sample rate that you set the DAW up to be recording at. And then number the track and name it something sensible.